What's up, everybody? This is Mr. Composition, the MC that writes fiction, and this is another episode of The Composition. And today's topic I want to talk about, I was talking to my friend Queen Bella, and she brought up something very, very interesting. And she brought up a recent situation where she was at a friend's house and she was getting married, and she was very happy for her, but she for a little bit felt lonely, and she said it was like for a good 30 minutes, but she asked herself why she felt triggered. It was literally because she saw it, the quote unquote dream. And that made me think about she's very developed as far as in her emotional intelligence and being aware of self, to be able to get herself recalibrated, to be like, this isn't really me. Not that she doesn't want those things, but she was wanting it, for the wrong reasons, as far as just because she's seen it. And how often do we make choices based on what it is that we see, and we feel like, because we thought we really wanted this, and we get into a messed up relationship or a messed up circumstance, and we weren't following what we actually wanted. We were following what we saw someone else have, and we wanted an aspect of that for ourselves. And it reminds me of how social media is, and how often just by scrolling, you're being triggered in that same way. Being able to step back and ask yourself, what is it that I actually want? Why am I being triggered? And I realized when it comes to a lot of what we see, today was a very interesting day because, I had a client cancel on me. And then within the same hour, I had a childhood family friend recently pass. And those happening at the same time, here it is like, a client just canceled. That's, money that's not coming in, But then on the other spectrum, here's this man that lived the life, and this isn't something that he doesn't have to worry about. And God rest his soul, he was an amazing man. And it's wild because a year prior, I was a pallbearer as far as for his wife. It just made me think about how often we think about like all these trivial things. And I just had a thought within myself. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and you're just going a year without your wife, and I really hope that it wasn't bad in the end. And it makes me think about perspective. Sometimes I will look at certain people that I admire, and I forget that these people are cool 20 years older than me, 20 plus years older than me, and it's just all like, yo, what are you're just a baby in this. And it causes for a lot of inactivity. Like my friend was bringing up, she was like, prior to that, she could have felt that loneliness for months had she not done the work on herself to be able to acknowledge that was, for one, acknowledging that she was being triggered. Also to turn around and do the work on herself to actually pinpoint and dig why she was being triggered. For some of us, I know me personally, when we're triggered, we pull the trigger basically, and it's causing for a lot of problems that I see play out I asked myself during this time, what can I offer? What can I do? I'm doing this podcast as a form of consistency. And I found that my whole day, because that particular news happened basically at the start of the day, and I had did my routine. So I did my yoga, meditation, read, write, did a tarot reading on myself, and I was in the process of editing this podcast as far as episode 6 to put out in regards to the whole Nas and Doja Cat. So make sure to check that out. And in the process of that, I get this information, and originally I was just like, well, let me kind of get into work mode and different things like that. But I felt a song. You know what, let me not fight that feeling, because that's a feeling that, even though I do write a lot, I realize that a lot of even though I'm writing, about how I feel, it is very cerebral sometimes and not heart-centered. This one was more so heart-centered. This was literally vulnerable, just kind of questioning after this man that it's not too often that I have experienced as far as the time frame, because I've known him since I was in elementary school. I'm blessed to say, grandparents though, as far as my grandfather's still alive, but it was just very interesting to see someone's life as far as from just like, it's basically another grandpa basically, and to see the trying to just figure out things, because in my head I'm thinking all of these things, why we show up for certain people versus others and different things like that, and so it's easy to be like, man, I should have been there more. And it makes me think about my actual grandfather and the scare that he recently had. It makes you question a lot of different things, but in the mix of that, and what my friend was explaining, being able to from that know that you need to heal yourself. You can't walk around feeling toxic. With her, she's able to do it with 30 minutes. For you, maybe it takes a day or two, or a month, whatever it may be. But specifically taking that time to acknowledge and to take care of that, because I know as especially a man, a black man, sometimes, a lot of times, that's not something that we were taught, especially in a community where mental health is barely getting the shine that it deserves. Of course, it's just all like, what are you doing? You got work to do, man up, all these different things. There's not hey, go ahead, take your time, to deal with that. I'll give you, these are the different ways that but you need to take care of that. Sometimes we just sweep it under a rug, throw a band-aid on it until it gets to a point where it's affecting our day-to-day in our life, in our choices, and it's a downward spiral. I want to say this to just because I feel a lot of people that I've talked to feel very depressed right now. No matter with what you believe with the pandemic, I've said this before, people are really affected by it. The effects of our world as we know it has changed. I had someone that I was talking to saying, she didn't expect to come back to her home city and state, and for it to seem like a dystopian story or movie. That particular feeling I see ricocheted all across the board in different ways. And, in some ways I find myself withdrawing, but I feel being able to communicate in the form of this podcast, I feel like it will be able to help me, but maybe, help you as well. Documenting these times, this being, the 18th, August 18th. It's very, August 18th, 2020. There's a lot going on, a lot to process, and take that time, but don't hide away. That's something that I've been having to come to grips myself with. Everything is we're currently where we're at, and there is a way to feel grateful for where you're currently at by just taking the time. And I have to do this as well. I see sometimes I'll be hard on myself, like, why aren't you here, and why don't you have this, and all these different things that literally have nothing to do with any of the things. Sometimes you have to make room, and you have to prepare for the things that you ask for, the person that you ask for, the job that you ask for, the business, the opportunity that you ask for. And sometimes we don't think about that. So hopefully this is something for you to think about, on this Wednesday. Well, it'll be Wednesday when you hear it, so it'll be August 19th. So it's August 18th when I'm recording it. But when you hear this, I hope that it hits you in a way that you're able to really look at the situation. And everywhere it is a trip. And it's not to downplay your experience or anyone else's experience. I think that's the beauty of this time, is that you can completely experience what it is that you're feeling, and it'd be completely okay. You need to. But a lot of times it can feel very addictive, and it can become not healthy. So let me know, how are y'all doing in this? There's a lot that's going on. The year's coming to an end, and everything that's going on is pandemic, politics, and protests, and SpaceX. But leave your comments. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you're feeling on the topic, and what topic do you think I should cover. I'm definitely open to a wide range. This is the composition. It's a little bit of everything. But if you want to support me, support the channel, support what it is that I'm doing, you can definitely drop a donation with the links provided in the description. Or, of course, you can exchange that energy for something thought-provoking and entertaining as my book or my music at daptro.com/shop or t-shirts. You can definitely get those as well, services as well. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. This is the third podcast, and we got 87 more to go. So let's go ahead and get it. Again, this is Mr. Composition, the MC that writes fiction. Peace.